We are getting closer and closer to this year's World's Strongest Man, so we continue with our series, taking a look at all 30 athletes that will be competing in this year's show. We're looking at their story so far, how we think they'll do on the events, and how we rate their overall chances. Today's athlete is the American Nightmare, Bobby Thompson. American Nightmare, American cuddly toy.
I was going to say American teddy bear.
Depends when he's competing or not.
Yeah.
So, Lizzie, Bobby Thompson, what do we need to know about Bobby?
So Bobby Thompson is still relatively new to Strongman, and his career really took off when he came third at the 2018 official Strongman Games, and then the following year, 2019, he won the Amateur Arnold's, which qualified him for the 2020 Arnold Strongman Classic. He competed in his first World's Strongest Man in 2020, but he failed to qualify out of the groups when he lost the stone off to Graham Hicks. In 2021, he was invited to the World Ultimate Strongman Strength Island held in Bahrain, and there he put on a really solid performance, winning the deadlift, and he placed 8th overall in a stacked lineup of 15 athletes. The following month at the Clash on the Coast Record Breakers show, Bobby broke the American log lift record when he successfully lifted 217.5 kilos. And shortly after that, Bobby returned to the World's Strongest Man for his second appearance, and he had a tough group, with the champion at the time, Alexei Novikov, Luke Stockman and Kevin Ferris. But Bobby went on to win that group. This year he got a late call-up to compete at the Arnold Strongman Classic, replacing Mateusz Kiliashkovsky, and Bobby went on to come joint third alongside Luke Stockman. So Bobby's going to be looking to improve on the 2021 appearance, because bless him, Bobby's one of those. He goes all out. He puts everything out there, and he literally left it all out there. They forced him to retire from the competition, didn't they, before the stones, because he fainted.
Bobby is without question a heart on his sleeves, balls to the wall.
Yeah.
He gives absolutely 100%. He's putting his body on the line to be the best strongman he can be.
Okay then, let's go straight into the events.
So we're starting with the loading event, as we know, and one thing we've got to say about Bobby, Bobby likes the static, heavy, brute lifting. He's not the best when it comes to the loading type events. He's improving. He's putting the work in. You know, Bobby realizes he can't just be a log lifter and a deadlifter. He needs to be good all round. And he's been putting a lot of work into these type of events. But if we go on history in terms of competition, he's not done so well at the loading in the last few years in competition. So this is an event he's going to need a good start on.
So one event then I know he'll much prefer is the Deadlift Ladder.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, loading, not his favourite event at all. Deadlifting, he loves. And he's got very good track record when it comes to deadlifting. Even on a deadlift medley before, winning it in a contest back in 2019. His deadlift right now is the strongest it's ever been. He's not someone that maxes out all the time in the gym, so we kind of often don't know where it's at. I know from talking to him, he's feeling confident when it comes to deadlifts. And it's an event I think he can score big points in. Actually, probably doesn't get spoken enough about how good his deadlift is, but he is one of the best deadlifters in the competition.
Next is the car walk, and I don't think Bobby's ever done it in competition before, but he has done yoke, hasn't he?
He has indeed. I can't find too much on car walks with Bobby, but he is very good at the super yoke, particularly again when it's heavier. The heavier, the better for Bobby. He likes
for a man who doesn't like to move.
Well, he moves well. You know, he moves well on these type of events. Not so good on like loading, where it's a longer race. When he can get it done quickly, like you can on a yoke, then he's not too bad at all. And looking at the track record, he's got a number of victories on these against good opposition as well. So, all being well, body feeling good, could be a very good event for Bobby, particularly in the right group.
Yeah.
And I think he can get away with some big points here.
Next is the log lift, and we've talked about his max log, but this is for reps, 150 kilos-ish.
Yeah, his max log is exceptional. He's the American log lift record holder, but he's no slouch when it comes to reps as well. Now, I kind of delved into the history, obviously, as we do, and he's only done a log, he did log at World's Strongest Man in 2020, but it was in a heat where he was in kind of a no-win situation. So he only did 1 rep because he knew he was staying in the stone off regardless, and he wasn't going to catch up to second place. So that kind of result needs to be discarded. But looking at the rest of his results and knowing how strong he is on log pressing, it's an event he can score maximum points. He won the log lift at the Shore Classic last year when it was for max, but he's won plenty of times when it comes to reps as well. Worcester by, that was a very heavy log for reps.
180 kilos.
Indeed. Yeah. But even on lighter log for reps, he scored big points as well. So I expect nothing different this time. Bobby has some really good events in the heats.
Yeah, he does. Next is the wrecking ball hold, a test of grip. And I don't think he's ever done anything like a Hercules hold or a deadlift hold in competition.
No, we've not got too much to go off in terms of competition. The 2 real standout grip performances, or the 2 that I really kind of honed in on, obviously 2020 they did the Farmer's Walk for distance at World's Strongest Man. He actually scored very well on that event. And also more recently, he did the timber carry at the Arnold's, but that's extremely heavy. Only 2 athletes managing to finish that event. I believe Bobby was 6th at the Arnold's. It's not the same as just an event where you're holding. We've kind of mentioned that in a few of the other videos, but really an untested event for Bobby. So it's one that I'm quite interested in seeing how he does. I don't feel he's going to challenge any of the super grip guys that we've spoken to in the past. Bobby has slightly smaller hands and quite a thick, chunky guy as well. He's like, for want of a better word, he's quite swollen. You know, he holds like he's a big beefy guy on a shorter frame. So I think it's an event that potentially he may drop a few points on.
Okay. Now the stone off. I think this is very interesting because the one time he was in the stone off at Worlds 2020, he lost to Graham. Now Graham is a great stone lifter, but he is not one of the best stone lifters. He's not one of the names that we put out there when we're talking about the best guys.
No.
Last year, he didn't have to do the stone off because he won his group. Do we think if Bobby ends up in the stone off, he can make it through to the final? Because it's not his favourite event, is it?
It's not his favourite event, and when we kind of look at the results, he's not really had any standout performances when it comes to Atlas stones. Most of his performances are lower end of the table. It is clearly a weaker event for Bobby. He's been working hard on it.
Yeah.
I've seen some very good training videos where he's training really hard, and a rep off between 2 guys is very different to a sprint in terms of going fast.
Which is what they had to do in 2020, didn't they?
Yes. I personally believe if Bobby is better at grip than I'm giving him credit for, he's got potential to win a group because there are some very good events in there. I think the log is a potential win. I think the car walk is a potential win. The deadlift is a potential win. Loading and the grip, he's going to have to really dig deep and get some good points on. If he can, he could potentially win the group. I feel if he's in a stone off, he could be in trouble. That's kind of my view on Bobby's performance. If he can win it like he did last year and sail through, he's going to be happy. A stone off is not where he wants to be because he's going into an event that he's got a history of not doing that well on. And that does play on your mind, particularly when you start fatiguing and you get tired. And again, it could well come down to who you're up against.
And Bobby's one of those people, there's no quitting him at all. He will die trying, won't he?
He absolutely will. So that's one thing that could make it quite interesting watching a stone off with him.
It would be very interesting.
He's going to make his opponent beat him, that's for sure. I think Bobby definitely has a chance of making the final, so I think we should look at some of the final events. But for me, Bobby needs to win the group. I think on a stone off,
it's very risky for him.
He's not a guarantee on a stone off.
Looking at the final events then, we've got the medley, the box carry into the yoke. We know he'll like the yoke.
Exactly, very similar to what I said about Brian Shaw, really. He needs to make sure his boxes are fast. If he can get into the yoke, he's very solid and can score big points. Again, once we know the weights of the events, it's easier to make a prediction because Bobby is one of those guys, the heavier the better. The heavier they go, the more it's an advantage to him. The lighter it is, maybe more of a hindrance. He likes it heavy and hard.
Beg your pardon.
Well, he's a real powerhouse.
Yeah, no, I know he is.
Bobby absolutely is. And I think if we're going over £1,000, he'll be reasonably happy. You go over 1,100, more into the 500 kilo area, he'll be really happy.
Right, we know he will absolutely love the deadlift for reps.
Deadlift for reps, again, another event he can score big points on. If he's in this final, he's got a very good chance of even winning the deadlift.
Yeah, agreed.
And there's a lot of good deadlifters, so it's really hard to say. But if he's fresh enough and he can keep performing, and again, the heavier it is, the more it'll suit him. But he's a big deadlifter. He's got one of the biggest single lifts out of all the guys. Reps he's very good at as well. And when we go on the track record on deadlift for reps, he's scored big points many, many times.
So the Flintstone lift for Max.
This is a really weird one because Bobby would love a log.
Yeah, of course he
Now,
would.
Bobby is the American log lift record holder, one of the biggest log pressers. He was second, I believe, at the Arnold's this year. He won the Shaw Classic last year. When it comes to log for Max, he's a huge presser. He doesn't have great flexibility and mobility, which makes the behind the neck jerk type movement harder. But with his pure power, I still think it makes him a threat on this event. He might even just decide to be one of the athletes that would press from the front. Just do a push press from the front. Don't worry about jerking. He could probably still put 220 overhead, which is a huge weight. So, although he's not going to be the most proficient in terms of behind the neck jerking and technique, he has ridiculous strength, and that could just get him out of trouble. Like I said, I'm sure he would prefer a log, but I still can't see that many people putting more weight overhead than Bobby.
Next is the bus pull, and I don't recall seeing much of Bobby doing pulls.
He's done a couple of vehicle pulls, and to be quite honest, they're not the best in terms of results. Also did the Wheel of Pain at the Arnold's and placed lower end of the table there. It's one of those events that a lot of athletes don't really practice. So practice can make a big difference on it. I hope Bobby has been working at it. If we're going based on performance though, there's too many big truck pullers that will outperform in here. I mean, Brian Shaw, incredible truck puller. You know, you've got the likes of Tom Stoltman, who's now become really good at these type of events. We saw him win the Titans turntable last year. He won the Wheel of Pain at the Rogue Invitational. So I think could be an event that if he's in the final, he drops points on.
Right, then we have the power stairs. Is this somewhere where Bobby's massive deadlift is going to work in his favour, or where his chunkiness is going to work against him?
I've got to say, I think the chunkiness works against him.
He's not the tallest either, is he?
No, he reminds me in terms of physical stature of a Vititus Lalas. And Lalas had a chance of winning World's Strongest Man in 2012, and it came down to power stairs. The stairs and the implements that year at World's Strongest Man, very, very tall, high steps, and just having the chunkiness of the legs and being slightly shorter made it very, very challenging. Now, I still haven't seen the implements that they'll be using at Worlds, but if it's anything like that year, I think Bobby will struggle on this one.
So I've already mentioned it, it's not his favourite event, but unfortunately, at the Stones is bloody everywhere, isn't it? And that's how it's ending World's Strongest Man.
Yeah, and I think he has, like I said, he's put work in on the Stones. I still don't think it's enough to challenge the top guys. We have a lot of very good stone lifters, and you just can't improve that much in that shorter space of time. Even looking good in training is still very different to performing in a competition.
Against the best.
When you've got Brian Shaw there, Martin Zlissis, Tom Stoltman, Maxime, Trey Mitchell, and a whole host of other great stone lifters as well, I think realistically Bobby would struggle to even pick up a few points on the stones. So for me, he's got some events he can actually win in the final, but he's got events he's going to struggle on as well. I think
it's all a big if as well, if he can make it out of the group, because we know, again, he's got great events there, but the stone off could be the Achilles heel for him.
I think that could be the issue. I think for Bobby to make the final, he has to win the group, and that's a tough position to put yourself in, depending on who's in your group.
Although, who would have guessed it last year?
He's proven it before.
He's done it.
He was in an extremely hard group, and he got through. So, like I said, the great thing with Bobby, and you've heard me talk about this in a couple of the videos, to do well at World's Strongest Man or any big international competition, you need events that you're exceptionally good at. I like to call them weapons.
I like to call you a weapon.
I know you do. Yeah. But Bobby has events he can win. And when you can win events, you get big points. That sometimes is enough to get you out of trouble. I think I can't see he's got enough weapons to be a top 3 athlete.
No.
He would need an exceptional performance, I think. I think ideally, if Bobby can make the final this year, again, that's a really solid performance. I love Bobby, but I'm always honest about my opinions and stuff. I think he's got a chance of making the final if all goes well. I think in the final, he's bottom end. Sorry, Bobby.
Bottom end, Bobby. How dare you?
Bobby knows I love him, but,
No, I know.
you know, I've even called some of my best friends.
Bottom ends.
Yeah. So, guys, do you agree? Do you have different opinions on how Bobby can do? Obviously, he's been training hard for this. Until we get to the competition, we never know what's going to happen. That is the exciting thing with strongman and sport of all kinds. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you're enjoying this series. Auntie Liz, are you enjoying this series?
Oh, yes. No, I do. I think it's great. In terms of the hype, and it's interesting because then when the groups are revealed, we're going to be referencing back and
I cannot wait to see the groups.
Yes.
Because all this opinion is based on events, but groups can make a difference as well.
They make a
because
huge difference.
you can have weak deadlifters in your group, weak pressers, someone who's really good at a grip hold, someone that's really good at, you know, a yoke, and that's everyone at World's Strongest Man is good at something.
Yeah.
And it depends which group they get put in. So it's still lots to think about. But that's my opinion on Bobby. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please keep liking them. Keep subscribing. Liz is working her butt off to get these videos out to you guys before World's Strongest Man starts. It's getting close now. We are getting excited. We'll see you guys on the next one.